This is 2008 BMW M5, E60 V10 M5. It's got a V10 engine in it. It does 200 miles an hour. It's got a single clutch automated transmission in it, just like a Lamborghini Aventador, yet it costs just $20,000. Today, I'm going to show you around it. You guys do see that I'm not Doug Demuro or nearly as quirky as Doug Demuro, but I'm going to try to show you guys around this car and also feature this car a little bit differently than Doug Demuro would have. And Doug Demuro didn't even film this car, and I think he should have, but Doug, I already am filming this car, so if you are copying me. So let's now start talking about the importance of this car, and let's talk about when it came out, how it came out, why it has V10 engine in it, and where from it has a V10 engine in it, because nowadays all the BMW M cars have a, let's say, 6-cylinder engine of a 335, let's say M4s, they have 335 engines in them, forged internals, bigger turbos, twin-scroll turbos, new ECU, and there you go, that's an M engine. M5s, new M5s have the older engines in them. New ECUs, they say enlarged turbos, better technology, but it's still the same engine as an old M5, and indeed it's the same engine as an, if you will, X650i. BMW showcased this car in 2005 in Geneva, and it blew everyone's minds. In 2005, you're looking at the competition of Mercedes E55, and you're looking at the competition of Audi S6s that had also V10 engines, but it wasn't nearly close to this engine. It was a dumb V10 engine with 2 turbos to them. It had as much power as this, and it only revved to as much as the diesel trucks. Wow. This car has a massive V10 engine in it. It's a code name by the S85 B50. 5-liter V10, revs over 8,000 RPMs, and this engine is more similar to Lamborghini Gallardo than it's similar to any other competition. Let me compare this engine in two Lamborghini Gallardo's engine in, let's say, 2004-2005 models, before the facelift came out of the Lamborghini Gallardo. Lamborghini Gallardo had a V10 90-degree engine, it had a 5 liters, and it had a 520 horsepower or so, and as much torque as well as this car. Now, I believe it was 380 pounds-feet of torque versus this car 338. I haven't done a research, so my numbers may be slightly off. But this is a Formula One BMW team-developed engine, and Formula One block, indeed, this is based upon. And obviously, it has been modified and changed a little bit to suit the road and road legalities. But this is an amazing engine, and it is the only car that came with essentially a racing engine, only super sedan that came with a racing engine. You guys do see that we changed the scenery a little bit because it started really coming down, and I mean, it's been sunny 6 weeks in a row, and today, as I'm filming this car, it had to rain. But such is life. Let me talk a little bit more about the engine and a little bit more about the importance of this engine, because this really is a historic engine, and it's going to go down in history as the best BMW engine that's ever been made. Again, 5-liter V10, 500 horsepower, 338 pound-feet of torque, but it's not about the numbers, it's about what kind of a passion that BMW M performance division put into this engine. I mean, you're looking at the competition. E55 had, yes, it was a nice V8 engine, and the later E63 had a very, very nice indeed M156 engine, 6.2-liter V8. But it wasn't near to this engine. It wasn't near to the racing engine that we have in this car, and that dumb automatic transmission wasn't near to this single clutch dramatic transmission that we have in this car. That is more like a Lamborghini Aventador than it is like to its competition that it competes with, the E60 M5 competes with. You have an Audi S6, you have an E63. What else do you have? I mean, Cadillac CT-SV. All the cars, and not a one single clutch transmission. Maybe CT-SV does have a manual transmission, but good for us Canadian and North American folks, we got a 6-speed manual transmission version of this car in North America, and bad for European guys. I don't know why they did that, but thank you BMW, and thank you whoever imported and made that car and submitted that request so we could get a 6-speed manual transmission. So as you guys see, the car is bone stock indeed, and we do have also bone stock brakes that are actually massive. They are drilled, and they look like to be over 350 millimeters wide in a radius. And also these wheels I adore, to be honest, and I do think there are amazing wheels. You got a deep dish in them. I wouldn't really go aftermarket, and obviously they are BMW, so they're strong. You can't really compete with aftermarket, but it just looks amazing. It's how many spokes do we have? Multi-spoke. I'm not gonna count it, but it just all the BMW wheels look aftermarket as soon as they come from the factory. Even take the stock E92 wheels and take the stock E60 wheels. They look amazing. Competition packaged E92 wheels, they look amazing as well. They look like the BBS LM wheels that cost $8,000 a set. So let's now talk about the body kit, and let's now talk about what kind of add-ons we have got in the M5 over 550i, or a diesel version of the M5 indeed, the 535D that we didn't get in US. So we got this amazing looking bumper, I think. This guy is doing it right, and he does have the side plate. We have got very genuine and very traditional kidney grills of the BMW. I think BMW does it best with its bumpers and body kits. They look very slick, they look very floaty, and they flow with the lines of the car. And I think this car, let me close the bonnet, this car looks villain and pretty at the same time that you don't see in new cars anymore. F10, F90, they look all the same to me, and they don't look as special as this car. Let's now talk about the side profile of this car as these windows tilt out. It's a good feature right there. So we have got the mirrors that are different from the older 550s and 5 Series indeed. Is that water coming down on that, dude? So we have got these M package mirrors, and we have got these M5 badges on the side and M5 sludges, if you will. And we have got this very, very nice flowing and floaty side skirts as well. So let's now move to the back of this car, and the first very obvious thing that you will see is the quad exhaust. And you should take a listen of what this car sounds like under the load, under the revs. It is absolutely beautiful. So let's now talk about the rear of this car, and let's now talk about the trunk leads and the rear bumpers that we got the premium over the 550s, and also these taillights that we have got updated on 2008. I think this car looks really good, and it's got slightly wider arches on the side, and it does really show its M5-ness and motorsport over the 550s versus the new cars that all the diesel 5 Series that have the M packaging to them, they just look like M5s. Let's now move to the interior of this car. It is very typical BMW in here. Everything is super simple, everything is upright. You just get in and it's very simple. We do have the very, very dated iDrive system in here, and you know, you're not really going to use this iDrive system. You're just better off using your iPhone. But other than that, the steering wheel is really good. To be honest, it doesn't come far out to my chest. That's the only gripe that I have driving position wise. You do sit nice and low in the car. The seats are superb. This specific car is equipped with a active bolstered seat. So as you get in them, you feel it hugging around you, and in the corners you feel it hugging around you, which is amazing. It's a really, really cool feature, and I think all cars should have it. So let's now talk a little bit more about the Smg transmission of this car. This car, as I mentioned, has automated manual single clutch transmission, just like Lamborghini Gallardo or just like Lamborghini Aventador. So shifts are immense. They are just crazy. Hang around towards the end of the video when I actually drive this thing so you can actually see what they feel like. So yeah, this transmission is more like in Lamborghini Aventador than its competition, as I mentioned below. Other than that, everything is super upright. You have the climate controls here. You have the heated seats, and you have the parking sensor, so you don't really have the rear camera, and which wasn't mandatory back then. I actually prefer parking sensors to the rear camera. No, I don't. No, I don't. I'm shitting. We have got the cup holders here, which are upright, and I think the cup holders are a little bit weird about this car because they're in a passenger space, these cup holders, so you actually have to kind of bother a passenger every time you get your drink. But this is a BMW, you're obviously annoying as you buy this car already, so I mean that's totally fine as well. This car obviously is a single clutch, so it doesn't have a park latch, so you can't really put it into parking. You put it in neutral, pull the handbrake, that's how the car stops. It just acts just like a manual. We have got the EDC, DSC and power switches. We have got the M modes on the steering wheel. Steering wheel itself is nice and thick. It's not overly thick, not like new cars. And we have got the very sturdy pedals on the side, and they do feel very nice, but I do find myself using a gear lever a lot more than the pedals because it's more involving and not more annoying. Alright, let's now go over the infotainment system of this car. As I mentioned, it has the very early iDrive systems, and it is quite hard to use. You do use this wheel to control everything. You have the communication, you have the climate, you have the navigation. To engage the M mode, you just press and hold, and we have the M mode switch right here. So if we want to choose the M mode and configure from there, we press and hold. We have the M drive, we go into that. We can now from on switch within the intensity of the SMG, drive logic shifts, unchanged D, we have the sport, and then we can switch to, we cannot switch to 6 for some reason. I've heard these complaints before, but that's what it is. We have the EDC in sport and the DSC in M dynamic mode. We can switch on, off, unchanged. We're gonna switch to off. And we also have a P500 Sport package. We can also switch to 400 horsepower mode in this car, which is very interesting. I don't know how the car does that, but if you're gonna let your wife or your kids or a valet drive your car, you're obviously going to switch to that mode. There's a very, very weird kind of features of this car. A backrest, and you can switch between a sport, normal, and comfort. A backrest between sport, normal, and comfort. And you can also switch unchanged, which is very odd. But I guess it's cool because it's in a motorsport car. On the steering wheel, it's very, very self-explanatory. You have got the radio switches here, you have got the M mode here, which is very useful. You just click it once and everything that you have configured is going to come on. You have got the plus and minus for the volume controls. You have got the voice controls. And even now, to this date, I haven't figured out how to use the turn signals. Okay, so so there is a knob that comes down twice, and then you have to. It's like the two levels that it comes down on. You have to flick it once, and then you have to flick it halfway down to turn it off. That's a BMW thing. I guess that's why you guys don't use the turn signals anymore. Our DSLR unfortunately died, and that means that we're gonna have a shitty audio quality today. But I do still have a GoPro. That means that it's still a video. So let's go. Alrighty, so driving the new M5, no. Driving 2008 V10 M5. What is it like? Why is it so special? First off, I mean, you just saw, it's so balanced and it's so much fun to drive, even at slow speeds. You don't have to go really, really fast. Just a little bit of a damp, turn the DSC and AC and every system's off. This transmission is intense, dude. Will it hook up in first gear in a damp? No, it will not. Like a little girl, to be honest, man. I mean, it's just so much fun to drive. You don't really get that in
any sedan that you drive, and it is on this car, it's just because of the drama that this transmission has. It is because of the balance and predictableness that this car has. Let's say in a corner and in a slide. Is it that bad, this transmission at slow speeds? Yes, it is. Off the line, it can be jerky. Let me showcase to you guys. But let's get off in M mode. So right off the line, you just feel the clutches, not the clutches, one clutch actually, single clutch, engage, and I just shift to second, just see my movement as I lurch forward and then backwards. You see that? Third. And if you're not in an M mode, the transmission is just really slow. It's just really clunky. It's kind of unpleasant. You feel the throttle being blipped and then the gear being selected afterwards. So we're just gonna go ahead and go in an M mode right away, so we don't have to deal with that, the slow transmission. We just spun there a little bit. You guys see how clunky the transmission is. You gotta be very smooth with your inputs. Otherwise, you're gonna spin. Not that we don't want that, but again, listen to that. And it's so dramatic. Every shift, downshift, and then let's go into first.
She loved it.
I can do it. What did you say?
She loved it.
Yeah?
She loved it. She's just trying to imitate by doing it with her ass.
Yeah, someone gave us thumbs up. Yes, we will have that. I can do that all day long. The steering is really nice too. It's very light, but it's very quick and very accurate. So it is very pleasant to use in the corners. And the car doesn't feel that big to me. It doesn't feel like it's overly wide or overly big. It kind of does shrink around you very well. You do feel the mass of it. You do feel that the car is big, but you don't really feel like it's a scat pack or a Challenger by any means. This car feels a lot more sporty, has a chassis as well than many other cars.
Oof, gonna charge some legs.
Did you get scared?
Slid so nice. Bro, that shit slid so nice. Wow, she was beautiful.
Yep.
Oh man.
Should we rub it?
Does she know you?
No.
Oh, rub
She's
that
looking
shit.
at me.
Rub that shit, bro.
We are in a local Beverly Hills, Russian Beverly Hills. It's a rodeo drive of Brooklyn. Sheepshead Bay it's called. So we're kind of terrorizing these people.
Neck breaker.
Yep. It's so much fun. This car. Ah! Another one. A little bit of understeer there. Second gear. Excuse this very extreme angle. This is something that Doc Demuro would never do. So it may be once in a lifetime experience if you watch Doc Demuro on a casual, but stick around, subscribe for more contents like this and more extreme videos like this, and you will see it a lot more times. Okay, that wink was so unnecessary. I apologize. I'm sorry.